Hi, I'm Rob Kellogg, and today we're going to talk about personal protective equipment, also known as PPE. Now, we've all probably used personal protective equipment during the course of our careers, and we've utilized it according to what we anticipate that hazard might be. We have a sense of false security sometimes when we actually are using PPE, thinking that now that I'm wearing my safety glasses, I really don't have to worry about anything getting into my eyes. Well, that's not really true. And we have to look at the environmental influences that could impact the capability or an inability of those particular devices to give us the protection that we're looking at. So the first thing you really need to look at, one, is your environmental influences. What's going on around me? What do I need to protect myself from that I'm not actually doing? So once you do that first, you can identify some things that you can take into account to prevent you from being exposed from other activities or other environments. Somebody else is using a saw or a nail gun, per se. And we have to look at that before we start our own tasks, always. And I've taught this before, it's cross the street mentality. You want to look both ways before you enact that activity of crossing the street to make sure you don't become a part of the environmental influence. So with that said, just because you're wearing safety glasses doesn't mean your eyes are protected. If you got falling debris coming out of the sky for whatever reason through somebody else's activities or even your own, you definitely need to wear something other than safety glasses, because safety glasses actually will catch material between your eyes and those devices, and more than likely it's going to get beyond your eyelashes and then we get something on our eye. So we want to wear goggles instead, or a face shield. Something when the debris hits, it actually tumbles off and away from our eye area. That's going to prevent that from happening. So make sure that you're using the appropriate eye protection according to the exposure. Also look at your tasks. If you've got high velocity mechanisms coming at you, you definitely want to wear something that's more protective than just a face shield. So you're going to have that Z87 plus mechanism that goes around your eyes to prevent that high velocity impact. So we get into gloves. There are so many gloves out there to protect yourself from activities. You've got leather gloves from wear and tear. You've got welder's gloves to protect you from ultraviolet rays and heat. You can get into rubberized or nylon, not nylon, but nitrile gloves, latex gloves to protect you from chemicals and environments. So it depends on what you're being exposed to that we really need to address what that is. So wear the appropriate hand protection according to what your exposures are. Now, when you're working with chemicals, you can always refer back to Section 8 of your SDS sheets, and that is your personal protective equipment section as well as your engineering controls. But it definitely gives you the type of gloves that will help you protect yourself from those chemicals. It also gives you eye protection requirements, body, like your skin protection, your ventilation protection. So if you're going to inhale it, these are some things that you have to filter out. And that's where you're going to get that information. Again, is Section 8 of your SDS sheet. So when we get into other applications, let's just say welding. If we're doing those welding operations, we want to make sure that we're covering our skin to the best of our ability, because really what you're producing here during that arcing operation in any capacity, whether you're doing TIG, MIG, stick, doesn't matter, that arc is going to produce a lot of ultraviolet rays, and those ultraviolet rays are going to burn your skin over a very short period of time. It's like being overexposed to the sun, getting sunburns, and you can get into second-degree burns in excess of exposure, especially if you have sensitive skin and you're not able to put that protection system in place. You will pay the penalty. So what we want to do is make sure that those areas are covered up for light protection. Now, there are some clothing, shirts, for example, that ultraviolet rays is going to pass right through. So you need to have something on that's going to prevent you from having that exposure. If you're not wearing your outer garments, your leathers, I highly recommend that you put those on. Even in the sunny, hot days, it can get a little uncomfortable to wear those all the time. What I do is I just turn my system around backwards, and I have the back on my front. The collar is up on my neck, so it's always high. And then I've got my sleeves on. And then the back is open because it's away from the ultraviolet light, and then I have that ventilation. So I don't have that old wrapped up effect when I'm working on it. And if you're working with your fall protection, it allows you to utilize that too and protects it from getting into those sparks or ultraviolet damage from it. So just some things to think about when you get out there. Hard hats. Make sure you're wearing the appropriate hard hat for the job that you're working with. If you're just doing general industry stuff, general applications, should I say, all you need is a G-class hard hat. Type 1 or Type 2 is going to be fine. That'll protect you up to about 2200 volts from electricity passing through and protects your skull from getting banged around. The E-class, and this is an electrician's protection. And make sure that if you are working with voltage beyond 2200 volts, you should have an E classification hard hat on, and that will protect you up to about 20,000 volts. Will prevent you from getting exposed to that. So I know you shouldn't be getting involved with anything of that magnitude here at Ultimate Group or what you're doing, but you could get around others that might require that. So again, it's not so much that you're protecting yourself from your activities, although you are. You got to make sure you're protecting yourself from other activities as well in the surrounding area. So make sure that you understand your environment before you walk in. Then you take a look at what your tasks are and what they're going to produce, and then protect yourself from those as well. And hopefully you have a better understanding of picking your PPE appropriately for whatever tasks and environments that you're working in, and not just throwing on safety classes and calling it good. Make sure you understand your environment and the tasks you get involved with, and then pick them according to the need to protect you from those. As always, if you have any questions, please contact us here at Ultimate Group. And as we say in the past, safety is not a mindset, it's a state of mind. Have a good day.